So today, today's webinar is a basic uh, overview of the many cyber threats that exist with your computers and phones and all our equipment that we use. We are expected to have a minimum amount of defense against cyber threats. We did have a very difficult time placing our cyber liability insurance this year for the renewal. Obviously, a lot of people, you all know that our new policy starts tomorrow, July 1. So everything is in place by now, but it was very difficult, as you all are aware, with all the breaches and cyber attacks all over the place. I don't need to list examples, but everyone seems to be a target, and they don't necessarily care about the data. They just will breach and want ransom money, essentially. And that happens a lot. It doesn't matter how big or small you are, we are, they will try to capture it and just try to get money. And so that's everywhere. And Ryan did have a webinar that spoke to a lot of this earlier early this month, I believe, and a lot of it he talked about our physical security here at MCC and all the things that we go through to make sure our data is safe. For those of you that were on that, you learned about all the different vendors that all of our data flows to, back and forth to, and how important it is to have security here, and that um, you all need to have some sort of security as well. I mean, I know you also talked about passwords and having a breach response, things like that. I'm not going to go over that today. I'm actually going to play a video that already exists that was put together by Gallagher Bassett, their risk control division, and it's actually something that we can put out to our other folks. Just that piece, but that's the majority of today is playing that with a couple quiz questions, if you will, along the way. And Ryan's webinar is actually available to you upon request. Since it talks about some specific MCC stuff, we don't put it out on the web. However, this one today, as we do for all of our other webinars, will be available on the website. And as I mentioned, the placement of the cyber liability insurance was very difficult this year. We are going to be responsible and required to have future security enhancements. More on that at another time, but we will need to, bolster our own, not here at the MCC, but dioceses and individual parishes and schools. And part of that is some ongoing training by a third party cyber education professional that we are still vetting. We want to make sure that we have the right partner in place for that. Again, there'll be future communication notifications on that, but the idea is to try to get to all of our employees, or the large majority of them, with these educational things. And that will, again, future notifications on that at a later time. Vince, do you want to add anything at this point before I start that video?
No, John, I think you hit the highlight of that. I guess I just wanted to impress upon the group here that when John mentioned all employees, we are expected to be able to document that at least 70% of the employees in the state of Michigan undergo these webinars. The logistics is still being worked out because we don't have all the employees' website addresses, but we'll be counting on you to help us gather those in some form or fashion. But again, we will have to prove that we have saturated a certain percentage of people with this training. If we don't, we won't get cyber liability insurance next year. If we do, our chances will be much greater. The ransomware attacks, as John mentioned, are everywhere, including in our own state, where we just paid $100,000 in Bitcoin to have our servers released. So these are real things, and they're attacking the weaknesses that they can find. And separation of servers and backups is one of the things that will be highlighted. So with that, John, unless there's any questions, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Vince. And again, this video I'll run this video and I'll pause it when there's questions, and I'll take a poll for those questions, and so we can, as a group, answer the questions correctly. And they're pretty easy. If you pay attention, you should get it right. So I will play that video. Cue it up correctly. Here we go. Can everybody hear that?
No.
Okay. Yep. Hold on. Let me. There's a way to
John, you just need
share
to
there.
unshare your screen and then share the sound from your computer and then start the video
Yep,
over.
I just clicked share sound now. Does it work now?
And more important
Yes.
to prioritize.
Okay, here we go.
Cyber
Sorry about that.
attacks and other issues related to cybersecurity impact businesses of all types and from a multitude of industries. To clarify this fact, consider the following examples. In 2016, hackers stole the information of over 57 million Uber riders. In 2018, Under Armour's fitness app was hacked, impacting 150 million accounts. In 2019, American Medical Collection Agency's data breach leaked 25 million patient records. Equifax's 2017 cyber attack resulted in 143 million American consumers having their sensitive information potentially compromised. This included Social Security numbers and driver's license numbers. In 2019, Facebook third-party apps famously exposed 540 million records, which included user IDs, friend lists, likes, photos, events, check-ins, and more. Large companies aren't the only targets of hackers. Businesses of all sizes can be susceptible to cyber attacks. Hackers attack on average every 39 seconds, and in the first half of 2019 alone, data breaches exposed roughly 4.1 billion records. Once a company has been breached, it takes an average of 209 days to identify the breach, with an additional average of 105 days to contain the breach. As hackers continue to target businesses of all types, it becomes increasingly clear that cybersecurity in the workplace requires a coordinated, top-to-bottom effort to keep sensitive information secure. In this training, we'll discuss a few topics related to cybersecurity in the workplace. These topics include the various types of cyber threats that exist, as well as how to prevent cyber attacks in the workplace. For the purpose of this module, cyber threat is defined as the possibility of a malicious attempt to damage data, steal data, or disrupt digital life in general. First, we will discuss the various types of cyber threats. There are 4 general types of cyber threats you should be aware of. They include malware, phishing, denial of service attacks, and man-in-the-middle attacks. In this lesson, we will discuss each type of cyber threat in more detail. Malware is malicious software used to breach computer systems by exploiting network vulnerabilities. Malware attacks generally involve the installation of unwanted software or programs on your system without your consent. Oftentimes, this type of attack takes the form of a virus that infects an application, arrives as a new application, or burrows itself in the root of your system. Malware is delivered through many different types of mediums, including but not limited to email, social media messages, invitations to connect on different platforms, and social engineering, which happens when criminals disguise themselves as fake but trusted identities and trick employees into providing information. Malware can take many forms, including the following. Viruses are computer programs that replicate themselves on devices and spread throughout a computer system, corrupting everything they touch and often rendering the files useless. Trojan horses are viruses disguised as legitimate software that trick users into downloading to their computers where they can damage or collect data. Spyware includes programs that secretly record what a user does, such as capturing your keystrokes and the information you input into sites and online forms, so data like social security numbers and credit card numbers are captured. Ransomware is a type of software used to encrypt a user's data and requires them to pay for the keys to decrypt or unlock the data. Adware includes software that generates ad revenue for its developer by generating online advertisements that appear on a user's device. Adware can also include advertising software that attaches viruses to advertisements on frequently visited sites. Finally, botnets are groups of malware-infected computers that are under the control of hackers and can be used to perform coordinated attacks on other systems. You will now be asked to complete a few knowledge check questions to test what you have learned so far in this module.
Okay, which of the following is not a type of malware? If I set this up correctly, there are the poll. I just gotta remember where they are. Thank you. So there's the poll. What do people think the answer is to this? Which of the following is not a type of malware? All right, I think we have enough answers. We can close the poll. Show the results. All right. Well done. All right. So E. Everyone answering correctly, I hope. All right, let's see what people say. All right, most of the people said Trojan horse. That is correct. Trojan horse is virus disguise. I won't read these all to you. You can all read them. Okay, next question. This should be pretty obvious. Okay. The results are in. 93% say ransomware. That is correct. The ransomware seems to be the one that's always on the news because the ransom they require is quite a lot, depending on who they're hacking and what company is the victim. Next question. All right, what do people think? Be able to. All right. This was a little more mixed here. And I think someone said, yeah, you can move the window. Thank you, Ryan. I was going to say that too. So yeah, so some people said botnet. Most people said botnet. That is the correct answer. So botnet got in there and sent a bunch of emails. And then final question of the section. About Catherine. Okay. The votes are coming in. And yes, 97% said adware. That is correct, I believe. Yes. So you can see what adware typically does. Revenue for developer. And the important thing is that Catherine should ask her workplace about their procedure for moving adware from company devices. Okay, we'll continue.
Phishing, the second main type of cyber threat we will discuss in this module, involves fraudulent communications, often in the form of email, that appear to come from a trusted source. Phishing is the leading cause of cyber attacks in corporate network environments, and scammers will often impersonate company CEOs and executives, banks, companies such as Amazon or Apple, utility companies, finance software, and email providers. To further clarify this type of attack, consider the following example. Michaela receives an email from what appears to be her credit card company. In the email, Michaela is asked to confirm her contact information by logging into her online account. She clicks the link in the email and is taken to what appears to be her credit card company's website. Michaela then logs into what she believes to be her account and enters various sensitive information into the online form she is asked to fill out. In this scenario, an attacker sent Michaela an email that used her credit card company's logo and company colors, making it look legitimate. This person also created a website that looked similar to her credit card company's website, so she wouldn't hesitate to enter her login credentials and fill out the form with her sensitive information. In this scenario, Michaela has handed over all of her information directly to the attacker. While we will discuss general cybersecurity best practices later in this module, there are a few safety measures you can take to help avoid phishing specifically. When a hacker is attempting to attack through the use of phishing, they often contact employees asking for sensitive information, or else they provide links to ransomware trojans or other forms of malware. To help you and your organization avoid phishing scams, you should adhere to the following best practices. Never click on hyperlinks in an email. This best practice is especially necessary if the link is included in an email from an unknown sender. If you feel as though you must view the website the link is supposedly associated with, you should manually type the URL into the web browser itself. Never enter sensitive information in a pop-up window. Verify that HTTPS is displayed in the address bar rather than HTTP. The S assures you that the data is being conveyed through a legitimate secured channel. Most browsers have this check built into them and include a lock symbol before the URL to indicate that the site is secure. It's a good practice to be familiar with such indicators in the web browser you use. Ensure your computer's antivirus protection is current and utilize anti-spam software. Install and maintain a reliable firewall on your computer. Firewalls protect against malicious code from being introduced onto a computer. Back up your system when possible. Backup system copies help you revert to an uncorrupted system if a phishing attack has happened or is suspected. Avoid accessing personal email using work systems, as this will limit the spread and impact of potential phishing scams. Denial of service attacks, also referred to as flooding attacks, happen when a person seeks to shut down a machine or a network, making it inaccessible to its intended users. Denial of service attacks often happen to web servers of organizations, and while they do not usually result in theft or loss of data, they can cost the victim a lot of time and money to get the machine or network operating as needed again. Typically, this form of attack takes the form of attackers overloading servers by barraging a website with more traffic than it can manage. Finally, a man-in-the-middle attack happens when a hacker intercepts a victim's communications and then either eavesdrops or impersonates one of the parties. The goal of this type of attack is to steal personal information, such as credit card numbers, account information, and login credentials. Man-in-the-middle attacks often use different forms of phishing in order to gain access to a person's personal information. To further clarify this type of attack, consider the following example. Rodney's boss is out of town and wants Rodney to order office supplies online. Because Rodney doesn't have access to the company credit card, his boss emails him photos of the credit card so Rodney can use the credit card number and security code to make purchases online. Later that same day, Rodney receives a phone call from his boss asking why Rodney overspent on the office supplies by thousands of dollars. In this scenario, a man in the middle had gained access to Rodney's emails and was passively viewing all of the messages Rodney sent and received. When Rodney's boss emailed photos of the company credit card, the attacker was also able to view the credit card information and use it to make purchases. You will now be asked to complete a few knowledge check questions to test what you have learned so far in this module.
All right, what does everybody think the answer to this one is? All right, the majority is phishing. Let's see if that is correct. And it is. So that is essentially a definition of phishing. Often in the form of email. You should not click any of the links. That's very important. Okay, what type of attack did Shauna's company website fall victim to? All right, the majority said denial of service attack. Few of you said malware, but it is denial of service attack. That's what it does. It makes the system inaccessible. Okay, what about Martha? All right, what do people say? %97% say man in the middle attack. All right, the majority of you are paying attention. It's important to read the additional information here because it kind of explains more of what happens. Okay, we'll continue with the video.
You should now be familiar with the various types of cyber threats that exist. In this lesson, you reviewed the following types of cyber threats: malware, including viruses, Trojan horses, spyware, ransomware, adware, and botnets; phishing, denial of service attacks, and man-in-the-middle attacks. By becoming aware of the many types of cyber threats that exist, you have taken the first step in keeping your workplace safe from cyber attacks. According to an IBM study from 2014, 95% of successful security attacks are the result of human error. This statistic means that individual employees are the weakest links against cyber attacks. As attackers become more and more cunning in their cyber attacks, it is an absolute necessity that you as an individual take proactive measure to help do your part in preventing cyber attacks. In this lesson, we will discuss various cybersecurity best practices you and your organization should implement in order to protect against cyber attacks. These topics will include the following: password security, defensive software, and best practices at work. One of your frontline defenses against cyber threats is the use of a strong password. Simple passwords make accessing company information easy, whereas complex passwords help stop attackers from accessing company information. A strong password should contain at least 10 characters and should include numbers, symbols, and a combination of capital and lowercase letters. You should also change your password on a regular basis. Effective passwords also contain no personal information, such as birth dates. Such personal information makes it easier for an attacker to guess your password. Employees should also lock their devices when leaving them unattended, so that a password is required before a device is able to be used again. It is also a best practice for companies to require multi-factor authentication when employees try to access sensitive network areas. Multi-factor authentication adds an additional layer of protection, such as sending a temporary code sent to an employee's cell phone before a person is able to access sensitive information. Businesses should ensure that they are implementing strong security systems on their hardware. This includes strong antivirus and malware detection programs, pop-up blocking software, external hard drives that back up data, implementing firewall protection, and conducting regular system checks. It is also a best practice to ensure that all security software, web browsers, and operating systems are updated with the most current protections. Promptly installing updates on both your work and your personal devices helps protect against new and emerging cyber threats. It is a good idea to check for security software updates at least once per month. Most security software also allows you to opt in for automatic updates. You should also secure and back up files in case a malware attack or data breach happens at your workplace. Cyber threats take aim at your data, and it's always a good practice to have backups of your data so you don't lose any important files or information in the event of a cyber attack. Check with your organization to see if any policies and procedures exist with regard to backing up data. A general best practice in cybersecurity at work is to confirm anything that seems suspicious before acting. This is especially true when it comes to email forms of communication. Be wary of any emails that request usernames, passwords, personal information, or financial information. Also, avoid opening links or attachments in emails that come from unconfirmed sources. Phishers often prey on employees, hoping they will open pop-up windows or click on malicious links that could have malware and/or viruses embedded in them. If a suspicious email appears to have come from someone you work with, call them or send them a completely new email and ask them to confirm that what you received is legitimate. Finally, it is highly likely that your workplace has email, internet, and/or social media policies. It is vital that you adhere to such policies, and if you are unfamiliar with your workplace's policies, you should familiarize yourself with them. You should also know and follow your organization's procedures for reporting suspicious emails. If no written procedure exists, ask your manager or supervisor for more information on how you can report suspicious emails. You should now be familiar with the various cybersecurity best practices you and your organization should implement in order to protect against cyber attacks. In this lesson, you learned about the following topics: password security, defensive software, and best practices at work. You will now be asked to complete a few knowledge check questions to test what you have learned in this lesson.
Okay, what should a strong password include? Everyone should know this one. Look at that, 100% of the people said E, all the above. Well done. And again, you should avoid using personal information. That's very important. Next question. A lot of choices here, but we want to know which one is not a way to implement strong security. Okay, let's see what people said. Couple of people said install pop-up. No, we do want to do that, and we want to use external hard drives. So the other 94% answered correctly, which is leave unattended devices unlocked. Okay. Last question regarding Francisco. Is there a poll question for this? All right. So what should he do? All right, most of the people said B, which is correct. Avoid clicking the link and call us on a new email to confirm. Should not click on the link automatically. Can't assume that all links are safe. All right, very good. Almost finished.
You should now be familiar with various key topics related to cybersecurity in the workplace. In this module, you learned about the various types of cyber threats that exist, as well as how to prevent cyber attacks in the workplace. Remember, every member of an organization, no matter their position, plays a key role in preventing cyber attacks from happening. You've now completed this training module. You may close this window at any time.
Gladly. Okay. So we will open this up for questions. I do want to, I'll put this last slide on here too. You can go to the questions by clicking on a little Q&A on the bottom of your screen. If you have questions that you need more, discussion with, you can contact either the risk management department, general email. You can contact Vince, who's the manager of the department, or you can contact me. And then I got Ryan's email on there, and they're the IT general email as well for any specific questions on that. Again, if you please, when you leave this meeting and shut it down, you will be automatically linked to it. A survey will pop up. We really encourage you to fill that out. That helps us be better and give you more experience, better experience with webinars. So please fill that out when this is done. But do we have any questions regarding cybersecurity, passwords? I know we bring this topic to you several times because it's very important, and we can't say it enough how important it is to have security in place. So we have a chat. When you oh, my apologies on the wiggle in the cursor. All right, I will know that next time. Appreciate it. Appreciate the comment. Anything else? Any questions? If you don't have questions, we will keep it open for a minute. But if there are no questions, we will close this out. But again, I thank you all for your time. We know it's precious, but we did want to get this topic out again because of the cyber liability insurance that we do get, which is very good. And we were in jeopardy of losing that if we don't bolster our current securities and things like that. So there's a question that came in. What are the implication of working from home, accessing databases and such from our employees, more vulnerable? All right, so there's several questions. Ryan, do you want to?
Sure. Yeah, I can address some of those things. So it depends on how your remote work is implemented. So there's a couple of things to think about when you're sending people home and working from home. One of them is that their internet connection at home, you obviously have no control over, and so you need to ensure that any communication that happens from the work provided equipment, whether it's a laptop or a phone or whatever, it should be encrypted over a VPN connection of some sort from the laptop back to your servers and things like that you either have on premises or hosted in a data center. You should definitely consult a security expert, whether it's your IT provider or something like that, to ensure that you've got encryption happening, because who knows what someone's home network looks like. So that's one way among many. There are also ways to remotely manage computers through what they call endpoint management software, or And that way you can, if a computer is lost or compromised or something like that, you can reach out and erase it or lock it so that it can't be accessed by someone who might have stolen it or whatever. So, all right. The second question is, if we receive a phishing email, do we report it to some civil authority, or is it a waste of time due to the volume? I have found personally that it is a waste of time. Most of the authorities like the FBI and even the state of Michigan, state of police, they have what are called honeypots in place throughout at key points on the internet where they kind of intercept those messages. And so they're collecting those messages themselves all the time. And so I think overall to add to their volume is, it's like a drop, an atom in a drop in a bucket, so it's very small amount. So I don't personally bother to report phishing unless I happen to see something new that I think is novel. But most of the stuff I see on a daily basis, monthly basis is, stuff that's been rechewed and rehashed over and over. So.
Thank you, Ryan. Any more questions? Again, our email addresses are up there. Obviously, our general phone number, toll free. Any questions after this, please call us. We are here for you. And with that, I think we're set to end this. Again, thank you all for your time, and please fill out the survey. Oh, well, that one question popped up as I keep trying to say goodbye, and questions come up, which is great. Do you have a guide of the good practices to enforcement the security at our school? As far as cybersecurity is concerned, this webinar, Ryan's webinar, I mean, those are good resources to view and to have other people view. Talks about a lot of those things. In Ryan's webinar specifically, he has some good links to how to create strong passwords and websites that you can put in. I think it's your email address, Ryan, or a website to make sure it's secure, things like that. There's a lot of things out there like that you can do to help with the school folks. I mean, there's a lot of, obviously with schools, you have teachers, you have the admin staff, et cetera. So you have a lot of people accessing systems and things like that, but there are a lot of things in place. I would just encourage you to watch this webinar again, maybe share it with the school folks. And again, if you need Ryan's webinar, he can make that available. Again, we don't post that on the website. Okay, again, for everyone's sake of time, I'd like to close this out here. And any questions you have, we can answer another time.
I just wanted to add on to your statement. So specifically about the enforcement of security. To enforce security policies, you can use that management software to implement policies on your computers and your mobile devices that have to be adhered to. So for instance, you can set a policy that says all of the passwords that are entered have to be a certain length, or it has to have a certain number of characters. You can implement those policies so that your computers themselves will not allow weak passwords. And you can do that for all the things that we've talked about, whether it's locking the computer or something like that. So endpoint management software, as far as IT security is concerned, is the answer to enforcement. So yeah, just wanted to add to that.
Okay, so I just answered a question from, I believe it was Dan Oliver. Hello, Dan. Yeah, so when we contract, when we find a good third party that'll offer these more educational sessions, they're going to want to gather mostly emails in order to track employees and participation. And so we might need diocesan help and support to encourage that, so we can get more emails from folks, things like that. But we will communicate all that at a later time. So again, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Please contact us if you need anything else beyond this. All right. Thanks again. Have a great day. And again, please fill out that survey. It only helps us and helps you in the future. Thank you.